Hey, Motorman here, and this is our class from this past Sunday. We had the usual group of riders. Riders that come to my class generally have years of experience, but really no experience at maneuvering at low speeds or leaning, turning, and swerving quickly. That's what we teach them. And a lot of people ask me how we can do so much in such a short amount of time. Usually classes are about 4 or 5 hours. Well, we start easily with the slow race, then we take it to what you see here, the slow cone weave. And of course, we demonstrate it, we walk the riders through it, and then it's up to them. And we could take them from this level, which looks pretty bad, to this level. This is about maybe an hour and 40 minutes into the class, and already they look like a practice drill team. Each exercise builds towards the next. As we go along, they get more difficult, but because they've mastered the previous exercise, it's really not that difficult. We walk them through the exercise, we show it to them, we demonstrate each exercise, and then it's up to the riders. And of course, they're going to make mistakes. That's what happens. But as we go along, I'll stop the riders occasionally. I'll explain to them if they're making a mistake and what they should do, as you see right here.
You're trying to steer through it with the bike straight up, and it makes it very difficult. If your speed is 5 miles an hour or below, chances are the bike's going to fall. If you get up to 8 to 10 miles an hour and just turn those bars, it cannot fall over. So you need a little more speed. Make sure you're slipping that clutch the whole time. Right? In order to dip the bike and feel confident at doing it, you got to have a little speed. At 5 miles an hour or below, the bike could fall down. Anything above 5, it won't fall. So speed through here should be about 8 miles an hour. So slipping that clutch, looking ahead, don't try to steer straight up. It's hard. Feel that bike dipping from side to side. That's the point of the exercise. A little faster.
After the riders do a pretty good job at the slow cone weave and the big U-turn we have at the end of that weave, that U-turn is about 32 feet or so. We move on to this exercise, and this is the offset cone weave. This exercise has the riders transitioning quickly from complete left lean to complete right lean. It's very helpful out on the road. If somebody pulls out in front of you and you don't have time to stop, you better be able to transition quickly. We also have some variations on this exercise that Donna just demonstrated where we put some circles into it. We spend about somewhere between 40 minutes to an hour on each of the exercises. We want to make sure the riders have a good handle on how to transition that bike quickly from left to right and right to left. As they get better at it, we'll add some circles to this. Since there's no straight part to a circle, we tell the riders you got to keep your head turned the entire time. Got to master that head and eyes technique. If the riders are having a problem, we'll give them some one-on-one training. We'll even take some of the riders and move them along and keep some other riders here in this exercise. Next, we'll move on to the intersection, and we'll start with making a single U-turn in just one of the legs of the intersection. Since the riders have already made half circles in the last exercise, they usually catch on to the U-turn very quickly, even though the space here is a little bit tighter. Once the U-turn is mastered, the single U-turn, the riders get to go through the entire intersection. The intersection has you making U-turns and transitioning quickly from left to right. At first, they'll go through it one bike at a time. And then for another challenge, I put all the motorcycles in there. As long as the rider is looking where he wants to go and not paying attention to the other riders, there's never a problem. They just keep getting better and better. When I see that the riders are really comfortable with running the entire intersection with a group of riders, I'll have Donna demonstrate doing a circle and a half in 2 of the legs of the intersection. So you have a circle and a half in the first leg, regular U-turn in the second leg, and in the third leg, another circle and a half. Circles are important because it forces you to use your head and eyes and keep your head and eyes turned the entire time you're making the circle, since there's no straight part to a circle. Now, of course, it's the rider's turn to give this a try, and this class actually did extremely well in this. Generally, we'll have some problems with riders turning a little too wide or going outside of the leg, but these riders caught on very quick. There's no explanation for why some riders are or some classes are better than others. It just depends. You never know. But at the end, everybody improves at least 100%, and usually much more. Next thing I usually do is reverse the entire intersection so that all the U-turns are to the right. Because you got to be as good to the right as you are to the left, and then we'll be able to introduce the figure eight within one leg of the intersection. Since they've already made right-hand U-turns, the figure eight should be fairly easy. Of course, all the riders are always tentative as I change something, but just 2 or 3 times through, they get the hang of it. And as I said, improvements are just amazing in a very short amount of time. This is probably 2 hours and 10 or 15 minutes into the class, and they're already making figure eights within 24 feet. And keep in mind, these are 800-900 pound motorcycles. I often hear from European riders that, well, we got to do that just to get our license. Yeah, but they're doing it on little 125cc bikes. Try it on a 900 pound bike. It's a whole different ball game, especially when you got that fear of dropping the bike. I always tell people, if you got a $20,000 or motorcycle or even more, get some motorcycle drop guards. Takes away that fear.
Gotta walk before you can run.
Okay. Sorry, Joe.
All right, this is the motorcycle that you saw in that terrible drop, much more severe than normal. And as you can see, motorcycle drop guards did their job. There's just a little pavement on there, nothing. In the back, no actual part of the motorcycle touches the ground. This is the best investment if you're worried about dropping your bike, even if you're not worried about it. This is wonderful insurance. MotorcycleDropGuards.com.
Now we move on to the Snowman, what most people consider the most difficult exercise. Now, I've sped this up. This is about twice as fast as the riders are actually going, just so that I can get more riders through this on this video. We've only got about a 10-minute video. Keep in mind the class does run 4 or 5 hours, and I can't, of course, make a 4 or 5 hour video. Nobody would watch it. But more riders in this class made it through on the very first time than I think any class I've had in months. This rider had been here before, and he does a good job. He comes back at least once a year to keep his skills up. Again, we're about twice as fast as they're actually going here. Another rider doing a great job, using his head and eyes, using all the space available, and making it through the most difficult, what people consider the most difficult, only because there's so many cones in a confined space. And if you look at the cone directly in front of you, well, you tend to hit it. This rider was probably our most timid, but he did get the hang of it towards the end and did a very good job. If he keeps his practice up, I'd say come back in 2 or 3 months. Of course, when riders come back within a year, we give them a half-price discount. And this rider, if you might remember, you saw in the very first shot, sort of almost duck walking his bike through the slow cone weave. He improved tremendously. When I chase the riders through, I'm yelling to them to look at the green cone. Each time they get near the first green cone, I tell them, turn your head, look at the next one and the next one, because your brain always tells you a little bit too late. This class was so good, I played a little follow the leader with them. When doing this, the riders don't actually know what I'm going to do. All they've got to do is follow the bike in front. Here I'm surprising them with a circle in the intersection. They didn't know I was going to do that, but since all they got to do is watch and trust the rider in front, it's no problem. Now, I hope you like these videos. I hope you learned something by them. And please subscribe, give me a thumbs up. Don't forget to click that notification bell so every time I come out with a new video, you'll get to see it in your email. And we usually do 2 videos a week, sometimes even 3. And I want to also thank these riders for allowing me to put them on YouTube. Everyone who's on YouTube signs a waiver. If they tell me they don't want to be on YouTube, which is very rare, I, of course, don't show them on the video. So till next time, keep your head and eyes up. Friction zone, a little pressure on the rear brake. That's all there is to it.